Hey, listen! Hey, listen! Welcome back to another part of What If Luffy Was Never Born, or we might as well call it, I don't know, what would we call it, this thing? It's not only the Moria show, because we also have some other plot lines that we follow along, like, from time to time. So, just like today, last week we finished off a few of the Moria things, which was, for now it was the Reverie arc, where we learned a bit more about the bounties, the swords, the history of some of the other things, and today we're going to look at another protagonist that we set up a few videos ago. If you already know who I mean, you are probably quite deep into this. Yes, I am talking about Caribou and his crew. I think it's just the Caribou Pirates, that's what their name, but today we're going to take a look at what is basically the Caribou's Kihihihi in the New World, but the second part, because the first part was the part that led him joining into the Big Mom Pirates, and where we left off was basically Katakuri and the others giving Caribou, Koribu and the rest of their crew the mission, or the job, the training mission, to go out there in the New World to fight against other pirates, fight against marines, and just develop their haki and develop their abilities and these other things. And that is actually what they did. With that mission, they just traveled around making their mama proud by becoming more and more famous and probably increasing their bounties into like whatever. I don't know, I don't think they will reach 1 billion that soon. So at first we have the classic thing. You probably don't know the guy, but the first thing that happened was that this is from the canon cover story where Jinbei gave Caribou to the Marines, but this time obviously Jinbei didn't do that. But so Caribou is not captured here. Caribou is fighting together with Koribu, but Koribu takes down the Commodore on this island, which is quite rare because I don't think we have that many Commodores in One Piece. And the name of this Commodore is Commodore Yarisugi, and I have no idea who that is. I have never heard about him before, I have never seen him before, but he's there and he gets defeated easily by Koribu. And well, this is just the first part there, and then they defeat more small-time pirate groups, maybe some fights against some other marines, just making themselves known. But that only happens until a classic New World storm hits their ship, and everybody was on the ship trying their best to balance the ship, get out of the storm and everything. But while that's happening, well, all of that is happening, Caribou fell overboard. And you might call it a blessing in disguise, or just the luck of a legend like Caribou. Everything worked for him out, and he gets washed ashore on a winter island that's like filled with metal rocks and metal trees, which is quite unique if you think about it, but it's the One Piece world, so it's less unique again. So all of that happens there, and he can only see the island for a second until he falls unconscious again. Because the storm and the combination that he's a devil fruit user, so he couldn't keep himself over water, was quite exhausted, and his body, he probably hit a few rocks in the way here, and he has a few injuries here and there, and it's a bit of a hard time for him. Until there's someone there who picks him up. An old woman finds him and takes care of him until he's like feeling better. She even protects him from some people who want to attack him because they think he's like a revolutionist commander called Gaburu, and I'm not sure if these revolutionists are actually like connected to the revolutionaries that we know from Dragon, or if that's just a different group of revolutionists. Because the island that we're currently on is being controlled by Kaido, or like Kaido's people. So Caribou is staying there for some time until basically he feels better and is like, thank you for taking care of me, old woman, but I need to get going. I have other things to take care of. And while the woman is a bit sad to make this young man leave, she gives him like a bag with a meat pie and says goodbye to him, and is pretty much sad that he already left, but she's happy that he's feeling well. So while all of this is happening, he spends some time there, but then he wants to go away. Curious about everything, before he goes to the arbor, he checks out the island a bit more. That's where he finds Scotch. Scotch is not a commander or anything, but he's a pirate of Kaido's crew. I don't know if he had a bounty, but he's not strongest, I would guess. So he's basically destroying all of the revolutionists there because this island is supposed to work for Kaido and creates weapons for him. Like weapons and other things are supposed to be created here, just like what he does in Wano basically. It's just that he has way more positions and factories all around the new world probably, trying to prepare himself for I don't know what. Might be for a big war Kaido is planning, but we don't know that. So all of the flags are being destroyed, and while that is happening, Karibu also sees like the picture of Gaburu for the first time and notices that Gaburu looks pretty much like Karibu. And why that is, we never got an explanation, but it's pretty much basically the similar thing like that Caesar Clown and what's his name? Caesar Clown and Kanjuro look pretty much the same, and I always thought like, until I actually knew it was Kanjuro, I thought like it's just Caesar Clown doing some disguise, but I guess some characters just look similar. So that's the case here as well, and Gaburu and Karibu look pretty similar, but they are not the same character. So while Karibu sees all of the destruction, he wants to check on the granny, his savior again, seeing if she's fine, and he will probably take her with him if she was fine, and he just tells her, this island is dangerous, I will take care of you, just join me. And then he sees, when he goes back, the granny lying down on the ground. And next to her, he also sees the picture of Gaburu. Because this granny is the grandmother of Gaburu, and, well, he's feeling a bit sad about this, because this woman actually treated him very nicely and made sure that he was feeling very good again. He recovered, not fully, because he's still exhausted from everything, but she gave him food, clothes, and she was overall just very nice to him. And that's not how everybody reacts when he meets, like, this sleazy guy that Karibu normally is. So, with all of that happening, suddenly Scotch appears again. Scotch appears there, and Granny wants to defend Karibu. I would say this is probably the case because Gaburu was just a charismatic leader and not really a fighter or something. And because the Granny is like the grandmother of Gaburu, she knows what Gaburu was and thinks like that Karibu should be the same kind of person. And she tells him, escape from this place, I will protect you. And I have no idea if this granny ever used to be a strong pirate or strong fighter or anything, but to be confident enough to fight against a member of Kaido's crew to protect someone else, this granny has some massive balls if I've ever seen anything. But we all know how this is probably going to end. And the question why Karibu would run away from this even though he had all of the training, he's not exactly scared of like fighting against the people, but he's not feeling too well because he didn't recover fully, and he knows that Scotch and the others are members of Kaido's crew, and Kaido is a Yonko, so that's pretty scary if you think about it. Even with all of that training, his cowardness just didn't disappear from then to now. It's just not something that you can get rid of in a few days or even a month. He needs some more time to acknowledge how strong he actually is. So he runs away until he reaches the shore, where basically the whole crew and Karibu join up again. And this is the point where Karibu has a massive character arc in basically only one panel, because Karibu hugs him. Normally this is the case because Karibu left them behind and basically betrayed them, but in this version it wasn't the case, but he still, like, it's just a feeling that you get welcomed like this from someone he loves, and someone that you get loved by someone else, and also the stuff that Karibu then tells him that they should get along because that's what their deceased grandmother always wanted for them. So it's just a connection between the grandmother and that he hears how the grandmother was to him, and then the grandmother that took care of him. He's pretty much ashamed of himself at this point. So thinking like, how could he have left behind this old woman? The old woman that is not that strong enough to defeat a Kaido member. He is for sure stronger than a woman, and he knows that. But he still left her behind. And that really hits him in the feels. He thinks like he betrayed someone who was very nice to him, and that's not the thing that he actually wanted to do. So this is the reason why he develops some confidence. At first, Karibu wants to order his crew just to sail away, but with all the thoughts going inside of his head, basically just thinks, no, we can't sail away. We need to rescue the people here. So because of that, Caribou decides to send everybody going there. And while this conversation is happening, Scotch is trying to make an example of the grandma. And I would love to have seen like that Scotch was actually hurt in this picture. Imagine the Scotch, like, I don't know, that his mask, his iron mask was broken a bit, or that his mantle or something is also like torn apart in a few parts there. But obviously the granny is not strong, and the granny got defeated easily. And the revolutionists know who this granny is. They know that she's the grandmother of Gabaru. So they all tried to rescue her, but all got defeated. And Scotch wants to make an example out of her. He wants to execute her in front of anyone, so that nobody will ever defy him again, and they will just continue producing weapons and other stuff that Kaido wants. But that is the moment until something arrives. From the shore, Caribou and his crew arrive. But Caribou did something. He dressed in the clothes of the revolutionary Gabaru and restyled his hair a bit just to take up the position of this guy, the revolutionist. But most of the people already know that Gabaru is dead. So is this just a ghost that arrives there to make matters worse? Or is that a real person trying to help the people here? They don't know that, but we knew that it's actually Caribou doing another heroic deed. Caribou's there and he attacks the people. He orders all of his crew, also Koribu, to take care of the weaker people. He will take care of Scotch personally. And that's also, Koribu is quite strong here with observation haki and a very good mastery of his armament haki. And Caribou is more advanced in his, not in his Conqueror's haki, he's more advanced in his observation haki, followed by his armament haki. But they don't even need that. We all know what's going to happen here. And it's the fact that Caribou easily defeats Scotch, because Scotch doesn't have armament haki, and Caribou is a Logia user. So even with being a Logia user, he can easily take care of that, and he basically suffocates Scotch in like his swamp ability. So he doesn't even need to show his new techniques that he learned from Drake and the other people. And not from Drake, that's my bad. He learned it from Katakuri. Not from Drake, not from Drake. And after he defeated Scotch and basically knocked him out, he also thinks like, for good measures and to show the people that they actually won, he will also drown the factory that made them so much suffering inside of his swamp. Which gives the question again, how much stuff can he actually put into the swamp? Just think about it. An entire factory gets put into that swamp. Can he literally make the swamp infinitely big? Could he be the person to catch Onigashima once it falls down or something, just in his swamp? I mean, if Caribou is actually catching that thing, he's going to increase so much in character popularity, and that's insane. So, with all of that said, Caribou sinks that factory, and that is basically the end of this thing, you would think. Because everything is over. The situation seems to be clear, and Caribou and everybody else celebrates their victory. They celebrate a bit of a time, and because Caribou like absorbs a lot of these things that he drowns into him, he's quite big at this point, and he will grow even bigger because they are now having a celebration where they eat and shout and let it all out. So basically he just grows in size more and more until he basically reaches the size of his brother, or if you want to think about it, he's basically like mouthful mode Kirby from that news Nintendo Direct. So everybody is exhausted from partying. They got drunk and eating until they were full and couldn't put even one single thing more into their mouth or stomach. So they are just done with everything. But to their surprise, the situation couldn't turn worse faster. As everybody was just down and done for the day, a new opponent arrives. And if you read the cover story and know what's going on there, you know that Drake arrives. That's why I had Drake in my mind earlier. Drake arrives and he easily defeats all of them because they are so drunk and full of food that they can't really fight back. They are not like Luffy, who has the digestive systems of a god, who can just swallow everything down and he's full of energy again. They need to normally digest their food and they're quite weak at this point. So Drake easily takes care of all of them and dominates this. But it's only because they are drunk and are overeaten. I don't think that would be the case if he fought against Caribou and Koribu if they are fit. But with the unfit Caribou, he just doesn't have a chance against the Drake. So he's defeated and can't do anything against that. And the grandma is basically... She cries a bit seeing how Caribou got captured, but she knows what's going on. And it's also the surprise where we see that she gives him one last surprise gift, being another meat pie. She gives him like this lunchbox with a meat pie in him because she knows he's going to be gone for quite some time until he might return in the future. And this is also the point where the last thing we see on the island is the grandma visit Gaburu's grave, showing that she always knew that he was there. And there's quite the surprise of the people of Koribu's crew, like Caribou's crew. So, thinking about that, she lost her grandson, and Caribou and Koribu lost their grandmother. They might as well like build a new family together because she would have new grandsons and they would have a new grandmother, and for both of them it would feel very nice. So I would say, if they ever have an endgame story after everything is over, after Caribou might get released or rescued from Wano, they might return to his place, might settle down there together with Prim, and just live together with the old grandma, because this territory is going to be for sure Big Mom's territory. And that's the part here. But that's all of basically the cover story. From here on out, we're going to one more thing that's happening. While Drake brings Caribou to Wano as a prisoner, Koribu returns together with the rest of the crew to Whole Cake Island. Because obviously he wants to rescue his brother and tell everybody what's happening. It takes a while for them to return, and that's the parts where basically Moria is fighting against everybody on Whole Cake Island. So when they return, we see a few cases of destruction on the island, and they are not sure what happened there and if everybody's doing fine. So even with that happening there and a few people being quite badly injured, they get welcomed and people just see them and are happy to have them back. The first to actually arrive and greet them are Prim and Smoothie. Prim wants to see her husband, but he's not there, so obviously they clear everything up. Smoothie tells them everything about Moria's attack and that they plan to go and chase him to Wano. Because Big Mom is not really that mad about him, but she still wants to go there to settle the score. So after that, Koribu also tells the whole thing that Caribou was captured by Kaido's crew and they need to rescue him. And because they knew that Kaido was on Wano, those two things are combined. So Koribu and the crew from Koribu basically join up with the Big Mom Wano squad, I guess. So all of those people are going to set sail to Wano. We have, I don't know who else was there. Like, we see Daifuku, we see Smoothie, we see Flambe, we see Perospero, we see a lot of the people, but like, I guess Prim wasn't on the ship. She might join here as well because she wants to rescue her husband. And Katakuri doesn't join here as well because Katakuri is left behind basically to take care of the island, and also a problem that he can't be there in the sun anymore because he doesn't have a shadow anymore. All these things happen there. So Big Mom is not really mad at Moria about everything, because just like when Orochi defeated Snack, she wasn't mad at Orochi for defeating Snack. She was more mad at Snack for losing and showing weakness. That's why she changed her 4 commanders into 3 commanders and got rid of Snack's position. So she is not that mad about Moria. She's more mad at Katakuri, who's supposed to be her strongest crew member or like commander, to lose against someone. And the person she's really mad at against is Kaido's crew, or even Kaido, for allowing to take one of her son-in-laws as a prisoner. That's just way too rude, even for someone who she was together on the same ship with and had a familiar relationship of being like something like brother and sister together. So she's quite mad about that, and I guess she's going to be even more of a wild card here when entering Wano. But for now, we get to something else. We are here in this part. Because at this point, before the Big Mom squad wants to set sail, Luffy approaches Koribu, wanting to tell him something. But as she's about to say something, he stops her, in the most serious tone he has ever been, and just says, "Whatever it is, movie, wait until I rescue my brother, my family." And that's basically the end of this arc. They just ended there, with Koribu looking into the horizon, very manly, sweating a whole lot. The lizard on top of his head might have grown stronger or something as well, who knows that. But whatever Smoothie wants to tell him, we need to wait for that until the next part, or until after Wano, until everything is settled, because Koribu is a family man, and nothing is more important than his brother to him, and he needs to rescue that person. So I guess that's this arc. And yes, last time I said we are going to end up in Wano, this part of the series, and we kind of did, because Karibu is there now. But next week we're actually going to start the first act of Wano and see what Moria and all of his people are up to. Until then, I hope you enjoyed the part, and I'm probably going to produce a lot more videos, not a lot more, but I have like at least 5 or 6 ideas that I want to produce, so I hope you look forward to those as well. And until then, I hope you have a nice week, and just stay hot, awesome, cultured, safe, happy, and all these other things that might come into my head when I think a bit more. And until then, this has been Pyro Primer, and I hope to see you again next week, or in the next video.